Alright, so I'm going to let you guys in on the project of the day. What do you do if you're someone that doesn't want to spend $500 on cutting or on buying a metal cutting bandsaw? What you do is you buy a $60 wood cutting bandsaw off of Craigslist, and then you make it a metal cutting bandsaw by adding a variable DC motor. And let me show you what I'm talking about. There's the bandsaw, but let's start over here. So another thing I do is every time I go on Craigslist, I look for free treadmills, people that want to get rid of them. I pick them up and I harvest the motors and I harvest the circuitry. People give away treadmill motors or treadmills for free all the time. Now obviously I'm not using this thing to run on, so I'm just taking the hardware. There's a lift that I can use later on for another project. There's all kind of circuitry right there, and then there's where the motor would be. Typically a wood cutting bandsaw, almost always actually, they run off of AC motors. AC motors tend to be bigger than DC motors and they're less powerful. Like this is only a 3/4 horsepower AC motor. And in order to get that thing to become a variable speed to where I can adjust the speed up and down, it takes a lot of circuitry that I don't have, and it's just a pain in the ass. When I can just get I can get all the circuitry and the motor for free and a more powerful motor. Come on over here. All right, so this is off of a DC. This is off of another treadmill that I got off of Craigslist before. I was going to use that motor, but then today I was able to find that treadmill, and that treadmill had a more powerful DC motor. This one is 2 horsepower. The one over there is 2.8 horsepower. So what you do is already set up with the treadmill. You got circuitry to control how fast and slow you run. That right there gives you all the circuitry you need to control how fast or the speed of which that motor turns. Then all you need to do is integrate it into your wood cutting bandsaw. So what I do is I remove that AC motor, I put that DC motor right there. I went to Home Depot, got a J box. I then drilled holes, added the circuitry into that box. That box didn't have nice. I redid all the wiring because you have to cut some stuff out because there are some things in the circuitry that you don't use from a treadmill in this setup. So there's some things you need to weed out and then kind of reroute some things. Went to Radio Shack, got me a 10K potentiometer. This allows me to adjust control of the speeds. The only thing I have to do now after that is I've got to mount that motor, which I'll do. That's the next part of the project. But you see, this gear or this pulley right here is going to go on right here. When I go to my machine class on Tuesday, I'm going to machine that out. So that way it'll slide on over onto this motor, and this motor will line up with here, and it'll control the speed, which controls the pulleys on the inside. So it controls the pulleys on the inside, which has the blades running on. Now, let's see it go. So I rewired this, and if you look, when I flip the switch, we get power right there. This potentiometer allows me to control the speed. As you see, I start to turn. Now that thing will get going, because you got to imagine that's for a treadmill, so people generally are running. So imagine how fast those things are going when it's on a 10 on the treadmill. Now I'm not going to let it get too high because I don't have it bolted in. It'll just fall right off the thing. But in order to cut steel, you got to cut at a real slow RPM, real low RPM. You don't want it humming. So this allows me to get it to a lower RPM speed to where I can cut steel. Now all I gotta do is just put a steel cutting blade on there, which I already have, which is up there. I'll put a steel cutting blade on there. I can cut steel and wood. So I'm down here at low RPMs for steel, and when I want to cut wood, I just crank it up. Oop, that's not even close to how fast it'll get going, but I don't need to get it going that fast. All right, let me just turn this off. Boom. Now, that box right now I have just sitting on its top. I'll flip it over. I'm going to weld up a mount so it'll go in the back. That potentiometer right here will come out the cover. It'll be nice. This will be cut down. It'll have a nice red knob. The cover for it is right over here. So I'm just going to cut a little hole in there so that'll be coming through. And then you'll see I'll have this little knob wherever I want to put it to where I can control the speeds. And what I'll do is I'll take a timing light and I'll measure at what pace, what RPM I need for steel, and then I'll just make like a little dial up here of where that thing was pointing at the RPM that I need for steel and for wood. But yeah, if you ever want to make yourself a cheap metal cutting bandsaw, that's the way to go. I think I got this off Craigslist, this bandsaw, for like 60 bucks, and I've got all the treadmill stuff for free. And I think I've got 40 bucks invested in Home Depot. So for 100 bucks, I got basically a $500 saw. Ain't bad. All right, project of the day.